Hey everybody, this is We Still Like You, the embarrassing storytelling show. I'm Jesse Batend.
Okay, so I haven't... Okay. This is a nightmare I may not be ready to live through.
I started getting crushes on boys.
Real embarrassed about this.
My mouth gets the best of me pretty much all the time.
Okay, I'm just like, how do... Okay. All right.
There we go.
When I was little, I had a friend named Nate. And me and Nate were actually kind of a lot alike. We had the same brown curly hair. We kind of looked similar. He was thinner, okay, for anybody who knew me from back then. But the one thing that was different between me and Nate was that he had the rascal gene. I remember in grade school, he used to sit right in front of me in class. And one day in the middle of class, the teacher's talking. All of a sudden, this black smoke just comes billowing out from Nate's desk. And obviously, everybody starts screaming and all of this stuff. And it turned out that he had a book of matches. And for absolutely no reason other than, I don't know, he's like bored, curious, his mind is wandering, decides to light one of the matches and just light one of his notebooks on fire. As far as I can tell, there was no like central theme to any of this. Nate didn't strike me as a person who was like constantly trying to get attention or anything. He's just the kid who would like turn to you and be like, "Hey, you want to see if I can jump off that roof?" Some people are just born rascals. And today we have two stories about little rascals. Later on in the show, comedian Danny Maupin's inherent rascalness gets him assaulted by a very famous person. But first, when grown man Rudy Schultz woke up on this particular morning, his only plan for the day was to go and get a haircut. He definitely didn't anticipate having to fight off a small and very persistent criminal. From Chicago, comedian Rudy Schultz.
I was on my way to get a haircut on a Saturday afternoon. I was walking down a real nice, extremely gentrified, just like peachy keen stretch of Armitage. And this kid starts following me. And she was being real obvious about it, not very surreptitious in the least, wasn't sneaking up on me. And I knew this because every time that I would kind of like slow down to let her pass, she would also slow down. And then like I tried like speeding up and she sped up real fast. And she was giving me like the hardest side eye that I'd ever received in my entire life. So I knew something was up, and I had some headphones in, so I pulled those out. And I didn't say anything to her, but I just kept walking. And right in front of a very nice restaurant where people were eating brunch, our little miscreant hopped up next to me and tapped me in the side of the head real hard with something, and then said to me, "I've got a gun. Give me everything you've got, or I'm going to kill you. I'm going to shoot you." And I had never had my life threatened before, certainly not by like someone who looked so young. And so I was very taken aback, and I started, getting a whole big rush of adrenaline. And I looked at this kid who, when people tend to like mug folks with a gun, they like, flash it a little bit. They maybe like have it in their waistband or like, kind of shove it in their pockets so you can see it. She kind of like hid it behind her back. She was like, I promise, I got a gun back here. And I thought, well, let me check. So I leaned over, and it was pretty cute because she had her fingers, but like in the gun shape, like behind her back. And I was like, you don't have a gun back there. And she wasn't going to take no for an answer, to her credit. So she started grabbing she had been following me for a little bit, so she started grabbing right from my wallet and my phone, and I wasn't going to let her do that. So I put my hands on my wallet and my phone, and she was really grabbing at me. So now we're just in this sort of weird, like, middle school dance where I'm, like, trying to get away from her, and she's, like, really trying to grab at me, and I'm like, no. And a lot of the time, when I would tell people about this, they'd be like, you know, especially if they were a guy, they're like, dude, why didn't you fucking lay her out? Why don't you beat her fucking ass? And I'm like, well, okay, so I get it. I am a grown man. I may be a little short, but this is someone who was smaller than I am. And I'm a white guy. This was a young woman of color. And definitely when someone tries to take your stuff and threatens to kill you, even if they can't really back the threat up, you think about maybe shoving somebody at least, or, you know, getting in their face, messing it up. But it just didn't even occur to me. It was so stupid that I didn't even yell for help. I was like, well, I'm a big, strong man. I'm not even threatened. It's fine. I'll just figure it out. And the conclusion that I came to after kind of doing the middle school dance for a little while was that it might be a good idea to just walk into moving traffic. It was right there, and then this would be everybody else's problem and not just mine. So I do the middle school dance into moving traffic on Armitage, and like an embarrassing amount of cars had to like stop and then like swerve and move out of the way, and none of them got out of their car. They just saw like, oh, this is how these two cross the street. Okay. And fucking nobody stopped. But we did catch the attention of a big old buff gym dude and then the owner of the brunch restaurant. It's not just a brunch place. It's a very nice place. It's great. But so the owner comes out and then the big buff guy come over. And they start trying to get us separated. And at this point, like, I'm still like, this is a young lady. Don't do anything untoward. You're chivalrous. You're a big adult man. And so she has me at this point up against a car. And she, like, shoved me in a weird way that kind of caught me off guard. And I'd been dealing with this for a few minutes at this point, and I got really angry. So I went to put the child in a headlock. I wrapped my adult arm around her child neck. And then the weightlifter man and the owner of the restaurant both went, whoa, 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 whoa. And I was like, oh, fuck, yeah, right, kid. Okay, gotcha, right, sure. No headlock for the child, gotcha. Cool. So they pulled us apart and got us all settled on the sidewalk. And she switched her story around. It wasn't, hey, I'm going to take all of your money and kill you if you don't give it to me. It was, this guy took my phone and my wallet. And I knew that she couldn't back that up. And she looked like she was having a real hard time. And I did not. I looked very well-fed, well-rested. I was going to go get a haircut. So, of course, being other white fellas, when I was like, yeah, she attacked me and threatened me my life, that's why you saw me stumbling into traffic and came over, they were like, why, yes, of course, this is the truth. Of course, you're telling the truth, and she is lying because she looks unwashed, and I don't know. It kind of was a bummer. It was a bummer for everyone involved, I think. But they were like, hey, do you want us to help you keep her here so you can press some charges and have the cops called? And this is where like my white guilt came in like a big old white gorilla and was like, hey, you're going to tell them no. So I looked at this gal and I looked at them and I was like, nah, let's just let her go. Huh? What about that? She'll figure it out. And I looked at her and I was like, get out of here, kid! Scram! Fucking hit the fences. Hit the bricks. Better luck next time. And this is when she started threatening to fight all three of us. She was like, I'm going to lay you out. And the big weightlifter guy was like, I have like 100 pounds on you. What are you talking about? And she was like, you have 100? What does that mean? I don't even... And we were all very confused, and she decided to leave, which was very nice. I thanked both of the other gentlemen for helping me out of the situation, and then realized that I had to go the exact same direction as the assailants, the would-be assailant. So I started walking that way, and I'm looking at her little back going along the street, and I started to get like really, really mad, like really angry. It wasn't until that moment that I like all the shit hit my brain of like, fuck. So I was so mad that I couldn't even form a coherent sentence really, or any sort of like a quippy comeback or anything fun to do in this situation. So I just started kind of sprinting after this young lady, just yelling, hey, and then punching myself in the head to get the rage out. So I was just like, hey, fuck, hey! And like, the sweet man who owned the restaurant thought that something else was conspiring between me and the young lady and rushed over to help. And that's when I had to kind of say like, no, I think I just have anger issues. Everything's okay. She's all the way down there. And she ducked down an alley, and I went and got a haircut. Thanks.
Comedian Rudy Schultz. Coming up, baby Peter Frampton loves your way, unless you're Danny Maupin. So as time passes, a little rascal will eventually become a medium-sized rascal, will eventually become a big rascal. And over the course of those years, you know, some of that rascalness tends to kind of peel off and fade away. But it's not always the case. Very good friend of the show, comedian Danny Maupin, has been living the rascal life now for a long time, and he has no plans of changing, even if it pisses off some famous and powerful people. From Chicago, comedian Danny Maupin.
I'm Danny Maupin, and I am a rascal. I'm certified. I grew up and I got the taste early and I couldn't get rid of it. And just a lifestyle I like to live. I love being just scrapping around, having some fun. Like, I've gotten to do things that you guys haven't gotten to do as a rascal. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen the Baha Men live twice. And I have done a lot of things that you guys have your 9-to-5s. That's fine. I am still deferring my student loans, but I have also been to multiple spaghetti factories. And so life is fine by me. And so this is a story of my rascalhood. I will tell you guys now a story of the time that I got into a physical altercation with Peter Frampton. And which is something only a rascal could say. I think we all agree with that. So before I was a comedian, I've been a comedian for 8 years. Before I was a comedian, I was a musician for 10 years. So that means for 18 years, I built a force field around myself that blocked money for everything. I have half of my life, I have not seen money. I don't know where it is. I sleep on couches that cats fight under. But that is my life, and it's the one I've chosen. And so, as a musician, I got to do some pretty fun things. It was a really lucky time of my life. I would tour around, and I record albums and just play in bands and do things like that. And so later on, towards the very end, like year 8 of being a musician, the band I was in at the time got the opportunity to record with Peter Frampton, which is oddly enough goes into a little backstory. We were like a punk band, so we had no business being around Peter Frampton at all. But we had recorded with a really famous producer. You wouldn't know his name because he's a guy behind the scenes, but his name is Chris Kimsey. We had recorded an album with him at one point and this guy, I don't know how we got him. It was so fucking lucky, but this guy has recorded like 8 Rolling Stones albums. He's done 3 Led Zeppelin albums. He was the live engineer at Frampton Comes Alive. So, like, he's the guy that recorded the most popular live album of all time. This guy knows what he's doing, right? And so he had recorded our first album, and then for some reason he told Peter Frampton about us, and then Peter Frampton said, come to my house. And we did, and did you know Peter Frampton lives in Cincinnati, Ohio? That's right. He's from London, England, but he loves Cincinnati for some reason. Must be the chili, is my guess. I don't know. But so we were there, and we were there for like a whole weekend, like just recording. And I guess I should check in. Who knows who Peter Frampton is? Round of applause. Okay. Who does not? And be honest, it's okay. Who does not? You don't know. Thank you for raising your hands. That's very good. So you've heard this song like, ooh, baby, I love you way. That, and then you've heard what he's most famous for is putting a tube in his mouth while he plays guitar at the same time. And doing stuff like, do you want rock or do? Like that. He's very famous for that. And you know Dante. And so we were at his house. He has his own, by the way, he has his own signature line of talk boxes. That's what those are called. And he cares about them so little. Like, you know, you got to keep a bass drum in place. If you're like playing, it'll move ahead. He just throws one of his talk boxes in front of bass drums. It's like a brick for him. That's all it is. Sorry. I've never told this story before. I'm trying to find the funny parts in front of you. So we're at his house, and we're just playing, and Chris Kimsey is there. And this is actually the first time that Chris Kimsey and Peter Frampton have met each other since Frampton Comes Alive. So somehow they were reunited in Cincinnati, Ohio, at Peter Frampton's house, and I'm personally there at the time. And I had gotten to know Chris Kimsey from recording with him before. And he said, Danny, we were friendly, and he goes, Danny, I think the next take, that's the guitar you're going to want to pick. That's the one. That's going to be the right sound. And this guy's amazing. He knows what he's doing. I blindly just trusted him, picked up the guitar. I went in. I go into the studio. I just started playing the guitar. You know what I mean? And I'm taking a take, and I'm really serious about it. My eyes are closed. I flub up the first one. I got to take another one. That's okay. It happens. And I'm just going, and I'm going. And my eyes are closed. I'm really trying to focus. I'm playing the music, and then I am just like stirred from my trance of playing music with a shove to my chest. And then I open my eyes, and Peter Frampton is grabbing my shoulders and thrashing me about. He's this tall, so he literally grabbed me, and he's like rustling me around, and I have no clue what's going on, so instinct kicks in for me, and I just grab his shoulders, and now I'm fighting Peter Frampton. Now I'm in the act of fighting Peter Frampton. And I don't know what the hell's going on, and the guitar's on me, and he's angry. He's so angry at me. His face is red. He's like kicking my shins and stuff. And I'm just like, what is going on? I try to and he ends up smaller than me, pinning me against the wall, grabbing the guitar off of me, pushing me one more time, and then just runs away with the guitar. That's all he does. And I am just stuck. Like, what the fuck just happened to me? What happened to me? Guitar legend Peter Frampton just beat the shit out of me and ran away with a guitar. I have no clue. And then every studio's got the glass window, right, where you see into the control room, and they have the knobs and the mixers, and everyone in there, all of my bandmates, Chris Kimsey, dying laughing. They're laughing their asses off. And I'm just so confused, like, at what is going on in my life. Everything is turned on me, and I just go in there, and I walk in, and I'm like, what the fuck happened, and why are you guys laughing? And Chris Kimsey, famed producer, is just holding up a platinum copy of Frampton Comes Alive, where it's the guitar that Peter Frampton played at the concert. So I played Peter Frampton's guitar in a very shitty way, and he did not like it, so he beat the shit out of me in his house. And that's what happened. Thank you. That's it, yeah.
Give it one for Danny Maupin, everybody!
Ooh, baby, I love you way.
Certified rascal, Danny Maupin. And that does it for this episode.
Perfect.
If you enjoyed today's show, do us a favor and tell someone about it. You'll never know how much it actually helps. If you really want to do us a solid, sign up to support the show on Patreon. Check out patreon.com/WeStillLikeYou. A couple of bucks a month will keep the roof over our heads and get you something cool. If you want to tell a story at one of our live shows, check out the submission page. You can find that at WeStillLikeYou.com. We're on Facebook at We Still Like You. We tweet at We Still Like You. I'm Jesse Batend, and as always, thanks for being your terrible selves.